What's up? We got Arrow Season 4, Episode 12, Unchained. So this episode starts off with Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Speedy and Spartan all chasing after a random assailant, but Thea's about to catch him when randomly she just gets when she falls unconscious. And we're led to believe why she's unconscious. So Felicity is now loving the name Overwatch because that's her name. So Felicity does a presentation at Palmer Tech, but the board member's like, hey, maybe someone else could do the presentation. And she's like, what do you mean, someone else not in a wheelchair? Yeah. So Oliver learns that Oliver learns from Malcolm that when Roswell, remember when Damien Dark's not in this episode again, another episode that misses Damien Dark stuff, he gets mentioned, but he's not brought up. He gets brought up, but he's not even in the episode itself. So Oliver's like, Oliver does say about Thea does say about how when Damien Dark touched her, she lost her bloodlust, and Oliver's like, hey, let's just call Damien Dark and tell him to make it permanent. And Oliver's like, really? And Malcolm Rowan's like, really, Oliver? You can't just call Damien Dark and tell him, and he's gonna have a sword of hive agent. So Oliver goes against the mysterious assailant, returns again, and he learns that's actually Roy. Yeah, Roy's back. And he's also my second TV child next to Sarah. So Roy's back. But now, and they're like, Roy steals almost steals the big proton thing that Palmer Tech is building, but then Oliver shoots him, but then Diggle's like, what did you do? And he's like, so they take the thing that was controlling him out of his eye, so Roy's now back to his normal self, and Roy's now back to his normal self, and he's like, wow, cool lair. And Roy's like, hey Felicity, I heard about you, I'm sorry. So Roy reveals that after season 3 of Arrow, he went to Hub City, got a new name, and was living a life. But then some mysterious villain called the Calculator emailed him, put him under his control, and told him to start stealing stuff. And Felicity's like, the Calculator? That's such a terrible name. This is why we don't like villain. It's so bad when the villains name themselves. So we see Roy back in the Arsenal suit again. Didn't he give Thea? Okay, I'm kind of confused. Did Roy build a new Arsenal? Did Oliver just have an Arsenal suit ready? Did Roy just build one off screen? Because we remember Thea did give him the Arsenal suit, but he was like, no, it looks better on you. But Roy's just immediately in an Arsenal suit. When did he make it? When did he have time to build it? No one knows. They don't even mention it. So the Calculator's like, they learn that the Calculator wants to melt the internet. But no, he doesn't really want to melt the internet. He just wants to kill people by destroying the city. That's basically every generic bad guy's plot. So, is the Calculator a generic bad guy? So, yeah, he has something like Chad Lowe from Pretty Little Liars. I don't understand that. So anyway, Oliver does. So other that, Oliver learned. So Laurel doesn't first believe that before they unhooked Roy from his mind control. She didn't believe that it was Roy at first. Laurel, did Oliver tell you that Roy wasn't dead? Because she's like, what if it was someone before all of this happened? She was like, what if it was someone pretending to be Roy? I'm just like, excuse me, Laurel. Are you that clueless that you don't like? Okay, how come Laurel didn't know this was Roy? Why'd you think it was someone masked as Roy? I know that was Roy, but why did Laurel think it? Like, Laurel, why did Oliver ever tell you that Roy wasn't dead? Laurel was a part of Team. Wait. Yeah, Laurel was a part of Team Arrow by this point. So, why didn't she, if Thea was able to find out that Roy wasn't dead, why didn't Laurel? Or is this just terrible writing? That Laurel just says, oh, what if it was someone pretending to be Roy? Like, what? Laurel, what is wrong with you? Anyway, back to the episode. Back to the actual scene itself. Roy after the mission is done, they defeat the calculator. Roy leaves again, but he does say, time for Thea. Okay, so Oliver does say hi to Thea. Roy does say hi to Thea. They hug, but then Thea starts coughing. Thea starts coughing, and then the wound from Roz, they call him Raish again for some reason. He's like, Malcolm's like, it's the wound from Raish. But I'm like, why did you start calling him Raish again? I don't get the show anymore, man. I don't. The show makes no sense anymore. Okay, I know it's a name change, but I'm just saying. So then Roy and Thea have one more hug before Thea's in the hospital. When did this happen? I went back. Okay, when I was watching this, I kept going back to see if like something happened, to see if Thea's in the hospital. But no, they just hug, and then after a Felicity scene, Thea's just immediately in the hospital. Yeah, so this episode actually started off with Nyssa, but I wanted to save the Nyssa stuff for this part. This episode actually started off with Nyssa, but I forgot to mention it. But anyway, they just immediately cut to Thea in the hospital. The ending is bad because I think this episode ruined by its ending. Because, okay, here's how it starts off. Thea coughs. Then she's better. Then she and Roy have a final scene together. Then she and Roy hug, and then immediately she's just back in the hospital. Like what? You couldn't just show that Thea, like you couldn't just have Roy take her to some hospital. Next scene is after the Felicity scene, which I'm about to get used to. Oliver's just standing over Thea's comatose body. Huh? There was no build-up to that scene. This scene is just random and unconclusive. Thea is just randomly in a coma for no apparent reason. I guess the writers were like, maybe they'll say, maybe it's because of the Lazarus pit. We think that, but they have to show us that. Roy and Thea just say, Thea's like, I love you, Roy Harper. Then guess what? Next scene, she's in a coma. This ending, the ending to the actual episode itself, doesn't make any sense for Arrow fans. Because they leave something out. They leave the most important part out of the episode. And do you know what that is? Thea, Roy and did they take it for time constraints? Did they film the actual scene where she's taken to the hospital, but they edited it out due to time constraints? If they did that, then they were just terrible writers. Not terrible writers, but they're terrible writers. I'm just saying, this ending didn't make any sense to me. Thea and Roy hug each other. She's like, I love you, Roy Harper. The next scene, she's in a coma. Now we gotta get to the Felicity stuff at the end. So Felicity's doing her presentation when her dad, the calculator, the calculator's her father, says, and she's like, Dad, and then that's the end of it. Then, okay, so let's talk about the Nissa stuff, because the Nissa stuff plays a very important part in the episode. So Nissa's, as we saw in season 4, episode 3, Nissa was captured by the League of by Malcolm Merlin for destroying the Lazarus pit. So one of the people was like, hey, eat this pepper. It was taken out of the garden, but then that she cuts it and finds a knife in it that helps her escape. So then she's like to her friend, she's like, I gotta go alone, and meets Tatsu. Where Tatsu's like, yo, and she's like, hey Tatsu. Don't know how these two met, but it's never explained. Moving on. And it's never actually explained how these two met each other. Like, maybe she went to the League of Assassins at some point off screen and met her. It's never explained and never mentioned or never seen. So they just know each other and we never saw it. Or maybe I'm forgetting something that happened in Arrow Season 3 that I skipped. But I'm just saying, for this scene, we don't know how they know each other. So they get into a fight and she's like, you either give me the lotus or we both pass out. So, yeah, so then this just shows up at the hospital during this random Thea scene and is like, hey, her father said that to cure the blood loss, there is this lotus. But Oliver, to get the lotus, you have to kill Malcolm Merlin. And that's how the episode ends. I really enjoyed this episode, but the problem is with the ending. The ending ruins this episode for me. That's what this is. It's the ending where they just... So, as I said before, Thea and Roy hug each other, and then she's just randomly in the hospital. They could have shown... What could have made this episode good is that they could have shown Thea passing out again, or something to have us say, oh, she's in the hospital. But no, she's like, I love you, Roy Harper, and just cuts to her in the hospital. Out of nowhere. But anyway, that was it for this episode of Arrow. It's confusing. The ending is terrible for us Arrow fans, because and Nissa and Tatsu just know each other as a Blue, which is never explained. Like, she could say, oh, we met each other during Arrow Season 3, or something like that, or what we saw. But no, she's just like, hey, Tatsu. But anyway, that's it for this episode of Arrow. I'll see you next time for some more Arrow. And also, I hope next episode is way better than this one. This episode was too confusing for me to even think about.